Hello everyone, this is Greg with Northern Audio, and today I wanted to talk a little bit about Luxman. So first, I just wanted to let everybody know, we're a Luxman dealer. If you didn't know that, we carry pretty much most of their line. We did refresh their 505, 507, and 509Z. That is the integrated amplifier lineup. But I wanted to dive in particularly into the 509Z and what makes this guy special. I know there's a ton of videos out there that go over the specs, so I'll briefly go over that. But more what I wanted to talk about is what the expectation should be of what you should hear for that spec. So we'll dive a little bit into that. But quickly, with this guy, 65 pound, it's a monster as far as the weight of it. A lot of it has to do with the transformer. You have 80,000 microfarad of capacitance. And like for that, we'll get into a little bit of what does that mean? How do you hear that? But also with the volume control, you have 88 steps of attenuation on the volume. Very beautifully built. You have nice VU meters. You have some tone controls down the bottom. There's also lots of connectivity in the back. It is an all analog unit. Luxman in general doesn't do streaming or anything of that nature in their integrated amps. So that being said, how does it sound? Well, it's 120 watts into 8 ohms, 240 watts into 4 ohms, so it has plenty of power to pretty much drive anything. And then we mentioned 80,000 microfarad of capacitance. Let's talk a little bit about that. What does that mean? So whenever you have that high of a number, what that translates to is whenever you have very demanding bass notes, things that are going to really cause sag in the amplifier, that is stored energy. Whenever the amplifier is looking to be able to give energy, it's all stored there as opposed to something that has much lower number of capacitors. Now this uses a whole block of 8 of them on L transformers, which are definitely much higher quality transformers as well. So you get cleaner power just the same. It also has an 88-step attenuation on the volume control. So that being said, why is that important? So one of the biggest things I think is important is being able to control the voltage. If you've ever heard a system that sounds just too hot, too aggressive, or the sound stage is too in front or forward, usually that's not a symptom of a speaker or piece of equipment. It's voltage mismatching. You have too hot of a signal. So if you can finally and control that on a granular level, you really can get a different sound from an amplifier that, may be very hot. I'll give you 2 quick examples. Rogue Audio, their preamp, the Stereo 100, that is a very hot amplifier, but if you look at their preamp, I'm not even sure how many steps of attenuation. I think it's over 200. But that being said, Benchmark, they employ the same type of tactic. So that's why you would go down that path. That allows the amplifier that has a lot of power to be able to be played with a much wider range of speakers and still maintain a very analog sound. So the other thing is damping factor. As you move up the line in Luxman, you get a higher damping factor. And what that means is grip, basically on the speaker, the ability to be able to make the speaker stop whenever the signal is done. Anything after that is ringing, and really what you're hearing translates to distortion. What that is it's the locomotion of the piston after the signal's gone, but the piston is still moving. So if you have a higher damping factor and you get the speaker to stop quicker, well, you ultimately hear more of the music and less of the actual speaker mechanically. So when you combine that concept with the idea of being able to have fine control and granular control of the volume attenuation with, say, sensitive horn speakers that are smaller drivers on them, so they're much faster in speed with a higher damping factor, hopefully you can see where I'm going with this. That's what they mean by synergy, things of that nature. So what have we tested this on? So Luxman, we have all over the store here. I mean, we've pretty much tried these amplifiers on everything, all the way from K-horns all the way to Totem Elemental Fire. There's the Elemental Metal speakers. So 2 different types of speakers as well. So to the Klipschorns, personally I own K-horns, so I know that sound the most. Luxman and K-horn has always been a magical fit. That's actually what we use in our main system. But using the integrated amp as compared to we're using the KT88 tube amp and preamp separates, this piece here is built to sound like separates. And it definitely does. So what do you gain whenever you go with mono blocks? The biggest thing you'll hear is the sound staging. You definitely hear the separation between the speakers. It is a stunning difference. And it was something I discounted until I went with monoblocks. So if you're thinking along that lines, there's definitely a difference. But this unit here replicates that sound very, very well. One of the things, it has powder-coated circuit boards, so that really cuts down on dielectric interference. So that's some of the things that lend to the separation of the unit. What does it all mean? You really can't go wrong with Japanese craftsmanship, but hopefully that spells out a little bit about what some of those numbers mean, what some of the expectations should actually be on when you move up the line, and ultimately help you pick something that may have a better synergy for what the speakers you have. If you have any questions on this, or if some of this in the video has piqued your interest on learning more, you can always give me a call. Here, come visit. That's the best. See and hear this beast. 3003 Babcock Boulevard. And thanks again for listening to the music.